Consider this your trigger warning. The following program is strictly satire and is not meant to be taken seriously. So don't get all butthurt, you liberal snowflakes, just because we skewer your sacred cows and expose all your lies and hypocrisy. Truth hurts, and so does satire. So grab a drink, pull up a chair, and enjoy the show.
Welcome back to the Prepared Mind channel. It is Sunday Night Live. It is the zoo, and I'm glad that you're all here, and we're going to have one heck of a big crowd today, and I'm counting on you guys to help out by sharing the internet address up above. We're going to be on thepreparedmind.club, subscribestar.com, YouTube, X, Facebook, BitChute, Rumble, you name it. We're everywhere, and I'm glad to have you guys with us. And I need you to subscribe, especially if you want to comment down below. You need to be a subscriber for 5 minutes on YouTube before they'll let you comment. And if you've got something to say, something you think we all want to hear, right? It can be a comment, a question, a prognostication, right? It can be whatever you want, an observation, a prediction, whatever. Get it down below by hitting the super chat button right up here, and that'll flag your question, and Ooman will get it on the screen. That's right. We've got Ooman in the background, moderator in chief, and Jolene, the prepared mother. She's out there somewhere in cyberspace just floating around. Anyways, we've got a lot to discuss. America is under attack. We're under attack by forces from without and forces from within, more frequently and commonly known as enemies, foreign and domestic. They're here and they're there and they're everywhere doing what they can to destroy us and bring us down, which is why we, meaning you and me, and everyone that's good, loves freedom, loves their liberty. You need to be prepared up here first and help your friends, family, loved ones get prepared. They need to understand why, and they still think we're in La La Land, the land of make-believe and bullshit that the media sells. It's not that kind of world, and it ain't that kind of movie. Now, speaking of that, Super Chat donations up here gets you on the screen. And if you do a $50 or more Super Chat, well, guess what? I get a 18-year Glenfiddich single malt scotch. And to kick tonight's show off is Darcy T with a $50 PayPal Super Chat. Oh, down below is PayPal, Venmo, and CashApp. So this one right here is from Darcy T. Right out the gate, $50 PayPal. Here's to you, sister. Keep fighting hard, fighting the good fight. And you're in Texas, what I once considered a bastion of freedom and liberty. It is now under attack from within as well and from without. Semper Fi, God bless. Down the hatch. I tell you, scotch is good, but 18-year scotch, wow. Smooth. It's like mother's milk. So what does Darcy T want to talk about? Well, she says, here's my question for tonight's zoo. A new Middle East peace plan is in place, albeit tenuously. How long do you reckon it will take to be broken by either side? Call me suspicious, writes Darcy, but I smell more false flags and laws further limiting our speech and freedoms coming down the pike. Salute. I tell you, Darcy, this world is completely uncertain, with the exception of a few certain things, that evil is evil, and it will always be evil. It will lie, it will deceive, it will try and hurt others. And that is, it's as true now as ever, if not more. There is a Middle East peace plan in place, supposedly, kind of, maybe, between Israel and Gaza, Hamas. It was pretty interesting. A video came out of the Israeli hostages who have been held for 2 years getting out of the van, the minibuses that they were transported and released from, and they're smiling and thanking the Hamas terrorists. I found that just bizarre as hell, being held against your will for 2 years. Maybe they were just happy they were being released and they were being as polite as possible to get away from those guys. I don't think I would be happy about that. In any event, never mind that video. Will this peace hold? Well, your suspicion, I think, is well-founded based on the world we live in. Whether it's false flags or attacks on liberty, I think they are coming. Not just in Israel and Gaza or Palestine, if you want to talk about the whole area, because the nation state known as Israel was part of Palestine until 1948. And now you look at the map and it just shows Israel. It doesn't even show Palestine. In fact, many nations don't recognize Palestine, as if it just disappeared, right? More false flags, in my opinion, are coming, yes. Israel has already decided that it's going to take all the land from the river to the sea for themselves. They've already decided that it's going to happen. In fact, there is a greater Israel program that Israel has. And it encompasses more than just Palestine. It encompasses parts of Egypt and Syria, Jordan, all the way to, I believe, Iran. In any event, what can we count on? I think we can count on lying and treachery. Lying and treachery. False flags? Well, what that means is you kill others or yourself and blame others in order to do what you want, to justify actions. Now, over here in the United States of America, I don't know if you have all noticed or not, but I've been noticing a lot that Israel is coming under direct criticism from people around the world and America, from within America. And Israel doesn't like that. They've spent the best money that American taxpayer dollars can buy. Israel has used our own tax dollars to buy our own politicians. And they don't like that we're questioning them. But I think we can back things up just a little bit. We're supposed to have this thing called free speech here. Well, Charlie Kirk was at the front of free speech, genuine reaching across and talking to others who have disputes or disagreements. And then he started to criticize Israel, and then he was shot, killed, assassinated, murdered, done. And since then, folks, Israel has gone on a public relations campaign to buy all the support they can. And they've done that through influencers, social media influencers. I am not one of them that is being paid $7,000 a tweet or post or video. In fact, I don't get a penny from them. Good, because I'm not in the business of taking other people's money in order to forgive their, lack of a better word, their sins. Here we are, though, folks. Right? We've had laws passed trying to silence us, trying to tell us that anti-Semitism is bad, that everything is anti-Semitism. And what has happened? What has come about? Well, both the Southern Poverty Law Center and the Anti-Defamation League are now off the books with the FBI. They will not be training and they will not be releasing statements telling us what is and is not anti-Semitic. But be that as it may, Israel is still fighting like mad. Fighting like mad to silence us, to get us to believe it. AIPAC, the America-Israeli Political Action Committee, has come under huge fire and criticism from both Republicans and Democrats around the country. So now AIPAC, whose flag that they have is the Israeli flag, and they love to put a little American colors in there to, make it look good. AIPAC is now releasing advertisements, commercials. Why, you ask? What are they doing? Oh, they're trying to tell everyone that AIPAC is America first. But wait a minute, didn't the Anti-Defamation League, hasn't the Southern Poverty Law Center, haven't others said that saying the words America first is, well, that's white supremacist. Yeah, that's white supremacist. America first is anti-Semitic. And here we have the, right, pro-Israel Political Action Committee claiming it is America first. It just gets better and better, right? They want to limit, as Darcy T says, speech and freedoms. Yes. First, they have to stop the bleeding. And it's not working well with Benjamin Netanyahu out there completely bungling everything, sounding like a complete asshole. But before leaving this topic for the time being, I want to ask one more thing, right? What is it about America that other countries hate so much that they have to interfere with us, that they have to get involved? You know, there's just so much to this game. They hate us and they don't want us to be free. They don't like free speech, folks. So they certainly don't like the Second Amendment because it stops them from having strong influence over our country. It really does. I really think that we're going to have more false flags. We are. We're going to have them. We're going to have more attempts at silencing us and violating our rights, all in the name of, well, protecting others. It's a mess. We'll be getting and continuing to talk about Israel, Palestine, Iran, Ukraine, Russia, China, etc. There's a lot to discuss. And now we're at 200 people live right there on the old screen. 200 people live, folks. Be sure and share that internet address. Share. There's a share button down below. Share with friends, family, coworkers. Hell, share with people you don't like. I'll piss them off good. I guarantee it. But thank you, Darcy T, for that great super chat donation. And we're going to move right over to Chin Music, who has done a $52.43 super chat donation. So that's $50 plus a $2.43 for thee. And that is going to buy me the second Glenfiddich 18-year single malt scotch to get me well lubricated up here and get us into the topics. We're going to be here live for 2 hours tonight, folks. Maybe longer, depending on you guys. Here it is, and here's to you, Chin. Woo! Okay. All right. Here we go. What does Chin Music want to talk about? He wants to talk about Joe Biden. Actually, it's FJ Biden. He says FJ Biden, meaning fuck Joe Biden, canned, fired, eliminated, terminated 14,000 pipeline workers day one back in 2021. The media, Joe Biden told them to go learn to code, meaning learn to type computer code. So, so Chin Music says, so if you think I'm going to shed a tear for some worthless can't get a job in the private sector because they suck as humans, some worthless government employee, I obviously haven't had the pleasure of telling you to pucker up and kiss my white ass yet. How did I do? Signed lovingly, Chin Music. Yeah. You know, day one, right out the gate, 14,000 pipeline workers. The pipeline was the Keystone Pipeline. What was it doing? Transporting cheap, inexpensive energy from Canada down through the country, and I believe into the heartland, right in the middle of the country, where that oil and gas and whatever else is being shipped was going to be accepted, stored in giant containers, and then distributed throughout the country, protected on all borders. And Joe killed it after at least 1 decade, probably 2, of financing, permitting, property lines, eminent domain, all kinds of stuff, right? They just killed it 1 day. What I want to know is why hasn't Trump opened it back up, started again? I haven't heard anything about the Keystone Pipeline since he took office. You know, who knows? I don't know. Maybe Canada said, you know what, fuck you guys. We're not giving you cheap oil anymore anyways. So, yeah. If Biden and Washington, D.C., that's right, the bureaucracy, the deep state, can screw 14,000 hardworking, blue-collar, tax-paying Americans who risk life and limb and live in God's green acres, the hell out and away from their homes to work. They're away from their wives, their children, their families, out in the middle of nowhere, laying and building pipeline. We're supposed to feel sorry for these bureaucrats who have a seat and a desk, and they do everything they can to make that seat and desk seem important to keep their jobs. Amazing. In fact, one of these Washington bureaucratic fucksticks posted that the endangered ferrets are at greater risk now that the federal government has shut down. I did not know that wild animals were at greater risk, especially the endangered ferret, because there's not some bureaucrat out there, throwing fucking Cheez-Its and Cheetos and cheese puffs at it. The sense of self-importance and entitlement coming from a Washington bureaucrat is incredible. Absolutely incredible. I don't know anybody except government workers who are suffering as a result. I do not like the fact that they're trying to not pay military personnel. That's ridiculous because they would be what I call essential. But this is what politicians do, folks. They lie, they cheat, they steal, they bully, and they bullshit everybody. Everybody. Maybe these Washington bureaucrats, I think it was 7,000 got laid off yesterday, furloughed, fired, whatever. Maybe they should get in their vehicles, drive their happy asses out to the oil fields and the mine sites, and they can drill, baby, drill. They can mine, baby, mine. Why don't they go to the farms where all of the illegal aliens aren't at anymore, and maybe they can farm, baby, farm? You know, all three of those things actually produce something. Did you know that? Farmers produce food. Oil workers produce energy. And mines produce raw minerals, metals, resources. Sounds like a good plan to me. Thank you, Chin Music, for the great support right out the gate. Always, folks, it is the Prepared Mind channel, and you guys, the audience, you get to pick. You get to pick the stories. I've got a lot of stuff all lined up, but I want to hear from you guys. Hit that super chat button or Venmo, CashApp, PayPal. It's down in the description, and we are going to get into it. Mr. Uman, let's pick a gem from the crowd. What do we want to discuss? Hey, it's another guy, Big Dan, the man, Erickson. He's back this week. $5 super chat donation. He says, why? Oh, shit, he's going to get right into it. By the way, Big Dan is from the state of Washington. You will not find him there. He doesn't stand on the street corner with a sign saying that, but he is a West Coast, Northwest Coast representative. Oh, so is Cottage Farm. But so he has an interesting perspective, probably sees more than all of us on the news. He writes, quite entertaining. Watching those clips from the Portland ice facility, the punks are really getting, well, they are getting a reality check. I have enjoyed those too, Dan. I've checked in on social media. And ICE and other federal law enforcement, well, they've decided to do something great, and that is reach into the crowd of protesting morons who are committing crimes, obstructing justice, interfering with investigations, trespassing criminally, and they're getting literally captured and dragged to be arrested. I think playtime is over. Playtime is over. I don't think these punks really know what it's like to be in jail. I think they need to be in jail with Bubba. Yeah, and how about a guy named Moses? Right. There's probably a lot of big guys out there. Jethro, Dequarius. I'm sure there's some big old prison boys that would love one of these soft, tender, little pink Antifa types. And they're going to get a reality check, folks. My hope, prayer, wish is that the justice system doesn't fail you and me and America again. What I mean by that is the justice system is comprised of more than just immigrations and customs enforcement, more than just law enforcement. It's also the lawyers and the judges. They all need to be decent human beings. And I haven't seen a whole lot of decent lawyers or judges in my lifetime, much less the last couple months. I should say, especially the last few years. They've demonstrated that they're completely fucking worthless. But ask yourself this question. ICE arresting them. They're getting the crap beat out of them. They're resisting arrest. They're nothing but little punks. And what they believe in their head is, well, law enforcement can't rough me up. They're just supposed to arrest me, read me my rights, and send me to prison. Well, jail anyways, and overnight. And then they're good again. Then they're let out. Well, maybe they deserve an extended stay. Hopefully they actually get jail time, because what they're doing is committing crimes. High crimes is what they used to be known as. That would be felonies. Thank you, Big Dan the Man. I'm going to continue watching and laughing my ass off. These punks, one of the tricks they've decided to do is, you're going to love this, put on the inflatable suits. So they look like bunnies and squirrels and raccoons and turtles and frogs. And they run around committing crimes wearing cute little family-friendly looking outfits. Because they want the media to see them as funny and cute and harmless. When in fact, Antifa has assaulted, robbed, murdered Americans as a matter of their terrorism. Crazy business, folks. I tell you, this weekend is something. Tomorrow is Columbus Day. Tomorrow is Columbus Day. Ooh, man, sent you a quick message. That means Columbus Day, the day we choose to celebrate when Christopher Columbus brought European civilization to North America. And since then, this continent has benefited from it greatly. Absolutely greatly. You know, we have things that the world has never had before as a result of it. Okay, so tomorrow, enjoy the day off if you get it. Don't worry, all federal workers will get it, except, well, if they're even at work. But law enforcement, prison workers, military, I don't think they'll be getting Columbus Day off. Possibly some of the military. Who knows? Ooh, man, who's up next on the Prepared Mind channel? Super chat button up there gets you on the screen down here, and it is Trucker Hershey. And he says, no Black Monday because they closed. Are we going to get a Black Tuesday? What he's talking about there, Black Monday, is a Wall Street stock market collapse. That's what Trucker's talking about there. And, well, if the nation has this Black Monday off, a date that'll live in infamy, they say, yeah, it could be Tuesday. But other markets are going to be open. I don't know why Australia and China and Japan and Europe, they don't celebrate Columbus Day the way we do. So their markets will be open. So limited trading. Will the American market be open for a limited trading day? I haven't really looked into it. To be frank, I'm concerned about the stock market and where things are going. But to me, it is all now inevitable. So it's not a matter of when it's going to happen. It's just a matter of how it plays out, how long it takes to become evident, how desperate will the banks be, how desperate will the government be, how desperate and how far will we as a people and nation fall? Well, as a consequence of all the theft and corruption on Wall Street. It is, folks, every bit as corrupt and dirty and filthy as Washington, D.C. In fact, the two work hand in hand because, well, Wall Street enriches Washington, D.C. So Washington, D.C. allows Wall Street, New York City, to get away with whatever the fuck it wants. Literally. If I were running the New York Stock Exchange, I would move it out of New York City, by the way. because New York City is about to become a communist Muslim stronghold. If that Mandami communist gets in office. It's already a shithole. It's already a socialist nightmare. But why would the New York Stock Exchange want to be there other than that's their name, New York Stock Exchange? They may be beneficial for them to move to New Jersey and call it the New York Stock Exchange. It's all run by computers now anyways. All run by computers. All right. Thank you, Drugger Hershey. We're going to have fun and watch. All this week, we're going to see issues with gold and silver. We're going to see issues with tech stocks. We're going to see issues with cryptocurrencies, Wall Street. We're going to see issues with bank failures becoming more obvious, if not, shall we say, acute, and other things going on. What we have coming out of China is China said, hey, U.S., middle finger for you. And they said other materials, including rare earths, are now off limits to you. And I thought, why would they, after all this time, why would China all of a sudden say no more rare earths? Is it in retaliation for Trump and his tariff crap? Well, what I read is that one of the resources that America had locked up as tightly as China had rare earths locked up, the United States had helium. Helium, folks, H2, helium, right? Locked up. Now China can produce its own helium. They figured out how to do it. They must have ample quantities. And I thought helium, so they're worried about balloons being filled? Well, it turns out helium is required for manufacturing and operation of many, many, many high-tech facilities, components, products, etc. And the United States, I guess, held like 95% control over helium worldwide. Well, there's really nothing that stopped China except a few items. And it looks like at this point, they may just say F you. A lot of people are saying China is going to dump U.S. treasuries, meaning treasury bills, treasury bonds, treasury notes, whatever you want to call them, right? Basically buying U.S. debt to fund the United States government, and then they take their bonds and they can turn them back in later for their money back plus interest. Well, China's been selling those off anyways. But if they were to dump them, right, this is where we get into trouble with the parasitic nature of globalist trade. Right? Every country relies on the other country and acts as a parasite on them for one item or another, for products, for finance, for support, for volume, for transportation, whatever it is. So if China were to try and kill the United States instantly by dumping all the bonds, it would screw up the United States of America, no doubt. The dollar would absolutely crash. But that would screw up all the other countries that do business with China, except for Russia. But it would also screw up China because they rely on the United States buying their goods and services. Yes, there's more people in Southeast Asia that buy from China than the United States, but how much do they really buy dollar value? And what about Europe? Yes, Southeast Asia has more people, folks. I think over 2 billion, if you count China as part of Southeast Asia. But India has 1.4 billion people, and then all of the other countries down there. But Europe, right? They need stuff from China too, and if they crash the dollar, that means they crash Europe, which means they crash themselves. So don't expect too much in the way of China dumping U.S. bonds, destroying the bond market, because that's destructive, self-destructive. Man says, foreign futures markets just open. Silver jumped over 48.40 and gold over $4,040. Well, thanks for sending that through, man. I'm going to need another scotch here in a second. Now, back in, I believe it was 2016 into 2017, and then part of 2018, I did a lot of discussion and even videos about silver and gold. and why I felt way back then it was important that if you had wealth, liquid wealth, as in cash, or things of cash value, that you should invest and protect yourself as part of prepping by buying gold and silver. Because no matter what the government does, no matter what foreign governments do, if you have precious metals, for example, like this right here, that is a 1 ounce silver round, 1 ounce of silver. No matter what the market does, up, down, no matter how many dollars they say this is or is not worth, it's always 1 ounce. It never goes away. This 1 ounce is always the same. And what it buys is quite amazing. For example, let's go over this. And some people say it's not an investment. Well, since the year 2000, so for the last 25 years, gold has beaten the Standard & Poor's 500, the S&P 500. What is the S&P 500? Well, it's a trading index where the top 500 corporations are tracked and kept. The S&P 500, the best corporations have not beaten gold. Gold has increased in dollar value and beaten the S&P. It's beaten the Dow. It's beaten them all. So, yeah, it's a store of wealth and value, but it also acts like an investment. This, when I first started talking, my first purchase of silver was $17.89 an ounce plus premium. Silver dollar, $1 when I bought them was $17.89. Now it's $48.50 ish plus premium, and premium is $2 to $7. Okay, so this has gone up 150%. 150% in the last 2 years. Oh, gold and silver went sideways for many years. Silver sideways more than anything else. But now, just in the last 2 years, it's up 150%. Not bad considering you're supposed to expect 7 to 9% return on your stocks on the stock market. It'd take probably, let's see, somewhere around 12 to 15 years to get that out of a regular stock. It's taken 2 years to get with silver. Enough said. The world is a wild, crazy place, folks. And no matter what happens, this will always be 1 ounce of silver. Wish it was 1 ounce of gold, but it ain't. All right. Ooh, man, who's next on the Prepared Mind channel? What do we want to discuss? It is Nancy Kegg with a $20 super chat donation. And she says, to the great group here, the Prepared Mind family, give it hell tonight, John. Oh, I will. And because of that, I'm going to pick a topic, a good topic. The appeals court has lifted the judge's order blocking President Trump from mobilizing the National Guard troops in Illinois. That's right. Well, how about that? The lower insurrectionist, treasonous federal court was wrong. Well, folks, the lower insurrectionist, treasonous federal courts around the nation are always wrong. Always. They are pointless to have in place. Basically, they're there to give a rubber stamp to any litigation that is anti-Trump or anti-America. They'll rubber stamp it, and they'll get their stay or their suspension of someone else's actions so that they can continue being a bunch of, well, anti-American fucks. I believe that the President of the United States should disobey federal courts because they're not truly following the law, as evidenced by every single instance where they make a ruling, they offer, right out the bat, cover and protection for lawlessness. They interfere and impede with the President of the United States. I call it obstruction of justice, interfering with official duties, and sedition. They should be disobeyed and, in fact, arrested. That's what I think. So yes, now in Chicago, ooh man, you know the action's getting hot there. You think it's good in Portland? Chicago has some stuff to offer as well. Yep. That means the National Guard, the Marines, the Army, whoever Trump wants can go in there and kick the ever-loving shit out of these illegals and the seditious, insurrection, treasonous Democrats. They need to arrest Governor Pritzker. They need to arrest Mayor Buttjoel, B.J. Johnson. We need to get them done. Anyways, Nancy, thanks for the great super chat. And couldn't do it without you guys supporting the channel. Literally could not do this without you guys and what you do and how you support the channel and you share the internet address and you hit the thumbs up. I need you to do that. And I need you to be a subscriber. Do all those things. We are shadow banned. We are blocked, literally blocked at all times by YouTube, by Facebook. Hell, even X is now shadow banning us, meaning we're not allowed to freely speak. They hide us. They punish us. They remove any funding we would have gotten. They do everything they can to destroy us. It is remarkably unbelievable. Even though we get, I think, a big fat $0 for advertising revenue, there's advertisements that run here. But YouTube says, well, because you have controversial topics, you don't get money. And then just last week, at the end of the week, I received literally 30 emails from YouTube where they lined out 30 different videos that they said are completely wiped out, no advertising of any type at all. Well, except that they get to keep the money. All right, enough of that shit, folks. You guys make this channel work, and I just want to say thank you for that. Who's up next? Mr. Ooman on the Prepared Mind channel. And we got Big Dan, the man, back. El Due, he's back for the second time. He says, what cracked me up is President Xi from China came to Seattle a few years ago, and the city cleaned all of the homeless camps out of downtown for his visit. They didn't want him to see a sad, fucked city. They did the same thing, Dan, in San Francisco. Same thing. They got all the homeless out. All the bums off the streets. All the drug dealers literally gone. The question I asked, Dan, was where did they send them? Where did they put them? Where did they hide them for that week? They cleaned up all their tents. They took power hoses and cleaned all the shit off the sidewalks and even the gutters. They cleaned up all the drug needles, used spoons, all the graffiti. And rather than putting American flags on the street in San Francisco, Dan, they put Chinese flags up so that the route the great Xi Jinping was going to take would honor him and his greatness. Did they do the same in Seattle? That's what I'm curious about, right? You say they cleaned the city of all the homeless camps. Did they clean the homeless out? Where did they send them? Did they clean up all the shit and drugs and graffiti and make the city look like, well, a couple $1 billion worth? I bet they did. Where did they put them? Did they feed them, clothe them, house them while they were being kicked out and having their rights taken? Remember, it's your right in America to be a bum and shit on the street and shoot up your arm full of drugs. It's your right to take fentanyl and stand bent over at the waist, somehow managing to not fall over, but be stoned out of your freaking gourd. Well, that's what it's like in these big cities, folks. It's disgusting. When I left California for the RMZ, I drove to Oakland, and I was horrified. And that was back in 2020. Horrified. I'm sure it's worse off now than it was even then. I tell you, folks, crazy business. Thank you, Big Dan, for supporting the channel and always bringing awesome topics to titillate and stimulate the intellectual prepared mind. All right. Where do we want to go next? Mr. Uman. Who's next? Right here on the channel, and it is Carport Carl. Pow! He's back. Carport Carl has been around a long time on the channel. Many of you are, but Carport Carl, with a name like that, how can you not remember him? $12 super chat donation. And he says, John, was the Tennessee explosives factory, was that foreign country sabotage? I suspect it is. Well, you know, I caught an article today, Carport Carl, and it said that the explosives factory in Tennessee that blew up is a woman-owned corporation. And I thought, why the hell is that even important? Why does that even matter? It can be woman-owned or minority-owned. What does that have to do with an explosion on the line? I have my suspicions. They're not founded in any fact because very little information that is useful has come out about this. By the way, we're almost at 300 people live. Hit the share button, share with everyone. Hit the thumbs up so that people know it's a quality video worth watching because the information here is, well, priceless. Anyways, the very fact that explosives factories, munitions factories, missile factories, they are, by their nature, a secure environment. They're very secretive about what it is they do, what it is they make, who their clients are. They operate under very strict guidelines with huge, massive federal government regulation. So it's hard to get the truth. If you think it's hard to get facts about a school shooting or facts about a terror action in the public, we're dealing with a very private corporation. Do I think it's sabotage? I think things like this happen when people are violating rules and protocols. There's protocols and procedures, not just for administration, for how things are handled, how things are stored, how things are moved, how things are assembled. If there's anything that has heat, it's very much controlled. Everything is controlled. It's very dangerous. A lot of explosives also, folks, believe it or not, are very stable. Right? TNT, dynamite, is very unstable. Nitroglycerin, right? It can be set off or detonated with impact. Very dangerous. Fulminated mercury, things that can go off because they're unstable. They try not to make explosives that way. There's standard explosives and high explosives, HE, and they're very stable. How do you shoot an explosive out a gun where it goes from 0 miles an hour to 3,000 feet per second? It's got to be a very stable compound that when it impacts, it has a detonating device that goes off and then it explodes. You see, so the fact that an explosion occurred here means somebody violated the procedures and protocols for safe handling of relatively and very stable compounds. Was someone trying to make a bomb? Was someone screwing with something? My guess is this was a type of terror action. That's just a guess. 100% shot in the dark guess. Some idiot who works there, disgruntled, a supporter of terrorism, thought maybe they were going to play a joke, a prank, get revenge, and this is what happened. That's just my take, Carport Carl. Thank you, sir, for that. And I've got some stuff that's going to probably make you wince. Like, I can't believe this shit. All right, folks, we're going to take care of this. And you guys, super chat button is right up there. It gets you on the screen. For now, I want to talk about a great Minnesotan. Well, the Attorney General in Minnesota is named Keith Ellison. And he went on MSNBC and he made a claim about Antifa. the anti-fascist organization. He claimed Antifa, quote, isn't an organization. Well, thanks, Keith Ellison, for straightening us up on that. Joe Biden said it was just an idea. But this guy, Keith Ellison, interestingly, years ago, literally several years ago, he held the Antifa handbook and posed with it, took a picture of it, grinning, laughing. Ha, ha, ha. He held their propaganda and their instructions on how to be a fucking terrorist. By the way, the terrorist supporter, terrorist sponsor, and terrorist funder who actually wrote that handbook has just fled the country just last week. And of course, I asked the question, this is a terror organization, someone who created their propaganda, their instruction manual, and gave them money is leaving the country. And you, the federal government, the FBI, the Attorney General's office, and the entire Department of Justice let him go. Absolute abject failures, or did they want him to get away? Him and his wife, the people that put this communist, anti-American, anti-freedom shit into the hands of, well, intellectual children who are in college. But yeah, Keith Ellison is a fucking liar. He's a sack of shit. He is a turd that stinks so bad no other animal would give it a whiff. Lying to people's faces, the American people, right? He's the Attorney General. He should be impeached for lying. Now, it's not a little white lie. Like, well, I didn't know how much this was going to affect that, or I didn't have any idea that it was that important. Those are things that you didn't understand. Don't fucking tell me that you don't understand exactly what you're saying when you say Antifa isn't an organization. What the hell is an organization? An organization is a group of two or more people engaged in anything. They're organized. And folks, Antifa is well organized. It has now come out. People who were once Antifa, people who study Antifa, people who also have their fucking handbook, shows how they organize, communicate, how they gather, how they disperse, what actions they're going to take, everything. Extremely well organized. And they're extremely well funded. And those funders need to be, well, arrested, literally. They need to be arrested. I tell you, folks, Sunday Night Live. Tomorrow is Columbus Day, but I just had to come to the mic. I don't like missing Sunday Night Live because it's just that much fun. All right, let's see. Where are we going to go next? What is the topic? Folks, if you've got something to say, super chat button is right up there. Ooh, man, let's have fun. Let's pull one from the audience, and it's Alan Meyer Jensen. He says, what I saw, the ammo plant is pretty bad, right? Happy a lot all around Europe, different places. Stocks, Bitcoin lost 19. Ha, ha, ha. Gold, silver, still fine. Well, Alan Meyer Jensen, even though his English is not perfect, I think I can translate well enough. The ammo or explosives plant was pretty bad. Folks, explosions are incredibly destructive. Just take a look at Gaza. Yeah, the Gaza videos that Israel doesn't want you to see. Leveled. They've now dropped the equivalent of multiple atomic bombs that were on Hiroshima or Nagasaki. Now, Bitcoin took a giant shit. I think it was Friday night. Lost a hefty percentage. It fell from it was up around the 125, 124 mark, $125,000 for some electronic air. I've got one right here. There it is. There's a Bitcoin right there. And it dropped all the way down to 103. Essentially, 20% drop, right? Not good. I don't know where it's at today. It did go back up, but if it's a store of value, how can a speech by somebody or a proclamation by a politician, How can it cause it to lose so much value in such a short amount of time? I know it's just a stock market value. But yeah, gold and silver, as Mr. Jensen points out, they're still fine. In fact, a lot of people said, oh my gosh, look what happened. It dropped a couple of dollars. Well, folks, it does that all the time. Bitcoin is 115 now. There it is. Thank you, Mr. Uman. What happened with the gold and silver price? Gold came down a little bit, but silver went a couple of bucks. And then it gained a lot of that back. What happened is, well, it's called a margin call. When someone is short, however this works, right, there's just all kinds of problems. So if you're leveraged, you don't have enough money to cover, right? The stock market confiscates your wealth and throws it back in the market. It drops the price. In other words, they're covering their debts. They're covering their asses. It's very interesting to watch, but at the end of the day, it's still 1 ounce. It never changes. And the stock market, folks, is a den of thieves. So if you play there, you don't want to play with anything that you don't mind losing. If you're willing to risk, you could win big or you could lose big. And a lot of Bitcoiners took to social media and said, I had $5 million, and in 5 minutes, it was literally all gone. Other people had 10 or $20 million in Bitcoin and cryptos, and they just evaporated and disappeared. My guess is they were leveraged. They were leveraged. So when the stock, or rather the Bitcoin, lost 20%, all they had to do is be leveraged 5 times. In other words, borrowing against their own money to buy more of it. And when it fell so much, there was no value left in it for them. They lost all of their value. Kind of a few lessons in there on how to not invest. But literally, they're buying. They own 1 share and they buy 5 or maybe 10 times the amount, so that when they lose everything. It only has to drop a little bit to lose everything. But hey, if it went up 10,000, well, they would go up not 10,000 on 1 coin, but 10,000 on 10 coins. That's the sneak of the buying things on margin, on leverage. If you think it's going to go up, you just buy a bunch of leverage and you get 10 times or 5 times the amount gain. But if it goes down 1/5, 20%, you lose times 5 or times 10. So a lot of crypto geeks lost their asses. Wild times, folks. We're at 300 people live. Share the internet address. Be sure to thumbs up. Also, you got to be a subscriber to get in the comments. Super chat button is right up there. If you got something to say, let's talk about it, and we'll have some fun. Now, Uman, who do we want to put up next? We got some good stuff out there, and we've got, out of the grab bag of joy, Dangerous Freedoms. He says, the Muslims and the Jews have been fighting for over 2,000 years. There will be no peace. I have a minor correction here. Muslims haven't been Muslims until about 600 AD, so the last 1,400 years. Prior to that, they were Arabs, and they had Arab spiritual beliefs, but they weren't called Muslims. The Jews, on the other hand, have been around for many thousands of years, past 2,000 years. The reason 2,000 years is a big number is because that's when Jesus, who was a Jewish guy, the godly leader of the Christian faith, was killed by the Jews. They demanded his death, and eventually Pontius Pilate gave it to them. What a mess. There will be no peace. There can't be any peace with people who believe they're superior to others and that they're God. Right? You got government people, all these different ideas of governments and their people. But the spiritual being, aka God, that they worship is always above all government. Except in communism, where communism says that the government is the God and therefore has control over life and death and everything. In any event, when you have people like the Jews and the Muslims who believe their God says kill everyone, take all their stuff, rape all their women, kill the children, steal, lie, cheat, doesn't matter as long as you do it in my name and you're the chosen people. That's what these Muslims and Jews believe, that God has authorized, legitimized, and justified the killing of everyone else. You don't have to look hard to find this. It's not just that they're fighting with each other. They're fighting with everybody. They're fighting with the Japanese. They're fighting with Europe. They're fighting against America. They're fighting against the Latin cultures in South and Central America. Hell, if they could get down to Antarctica, they would fight with the fucking penguins, no doubt. It's wild business. Thank you, Dangerous Freedom. Folks, we're at the 1 hour mark. And we go for 2 hours every Sunday night, except for those rare instances when we're not here. But, the mainstream media, folks, used to be where we would get our news. You got your evening news, you got your late news, on ABC, NBC, CBS. And then we got cable news networks and satellite networks, headline news networks, CNN, Fox News. We got all those. And we found out and discovered that, all they do is lie. They're propagandists. They have political agendas. And so we, you and me, have discovered, improved upon. What's another good? Improvised. We've done all kinds of innovative. This type of presentation where we can talk to each other and we don't fucking need them anymore. And I've got a great example of why we don't need mainstream media. Well, ABC News the other night had George Stephanopoulos on, and he was interviewing Vice President J.D. Vance. And they cut off the Vice President J.D. Vance because he was making George Stephanopoulos look and sound like a moron. Literally. If mainstream media just reported the facts, mainstream media, formerly known as the news, well, if they actually reported facts, then mainstream media talking pie holes like George Stephanopoulos, they wouldn't need to be protected by a producer who goes, cut the commercial, right? Instead, what they choose is to play this gotcha opinion garbage that they have. It's one-sided propaganda. It's designed to destroy the Constitution and America. It's designed to demoralize you and to promote anti-American, anti-moral, anti-decent thinking. So yeah, they're going to continue to play these games and continue to lose, kind of like Jimmy Kimmel. He should have been canceled because of his Charlie Kirk commentary. He was temporarily canceled. And because of the outrage of the left, the very, very, very loud minority, because of that, they put Jimmy Kimmel back on, and his ratings are even worse because no one cares. So he's actually costing them more money now than ever. I think it's freaking hilarious. I really do. It is fucking hilarious. Father No says God's chosen people because the book they wrote says so. Oh, man. That is extremely true. Thank you, Father No. They read a book written by a rabbi. And the book says, you were promised this, you were promised that, you're special, you're great, and therefore you can do whatever you want. In fact, they write the book that says, go ahead and have sex with children, infants even. Go ahead and rape people. Their book says, go ahead and steal, lie, cheat, screw people over because you're chosen. And when they sin, folks, if they sin, meaning they feel guilty because they've done something wrong, what they do is they go get a chicken. And they hold the chicken and they transfer somehow with Jewish magic their sins into the chicken. And then they kill the chicken. And somehow God, Almighty God, omniscient, omnipotent, sees and knows everything, is fooled by the very clever Jew who has put his sins into the chicken and then killed it, meaning those sins are now lost. They're great. Oh my goodness. Yeah, these rabbis pretending like they speak for God, and they're so wise that they can even fool God. Kind of like the Antifa priest. I don't know if you've seen this guy. Is he in Chicago or Seattle? Oh man, I can't remember. You've probably seen him a bit. He's in Chicago. He wears a black clothing. He's got the little white collar. And sometimes he wears the vestibules, the accoutrements of the priestly class. And he was shot in the head with a chemical paintball for pissing off ICE. And it was great. Fucking nailed him just right in the skull. And the media goes nuts. And the leftists go nuts. And Antifa go nuts. Oh my God, ICE has shot a priest. He's not a priest. He's an activist wearing a costume. In fact, I don't know why you priests out there don't get mad that he is appropriating your clothing. It's just another trick. It's bullshit. It's kind of like Antifa that wears a vest that say media or press. Don't shoot us. And then the other ones that wear vests that say they're lawyers. And I guess those actually are lawyers who file frivolous lawsuits all over the place defending Antifa. Absolutely ridiculous. Folks, shit has hit the fan. It is absolutely nasty out there. Uman says he's a Presbyterian, huh? This is the one that was shot in the head with a paint pellet. He also gets roughed up, beat up, pushed around, and I think he's been arrested a few times. He's a piece of shit. Presbyterian, I get it. Uman says, do you get the sins back if you eat the chicken? That's why you're not allowed to eat the meat that's been sacrificed for your sins. You don't get to eat the chicken. You can't barbecue it. Nope. But I think they do give it to somebody. I know that in the Old Testament, people who sinned would buy doves and chickens and lambs and cattle and such to sacrifice, and the priests would eat them. I think the Levites would eat them. Little biblical thing that's stuck in my head. Yeah, I don't know how that works, but hey, there you go. All right, man, super chat. Who's up next? Who do we got? It's Big Dan the Man. He's back with a hat trick on this Sunday Night Live, his third with a 556 super chat donation. And he says, yes, other countries do not like us, the United States, because we have more armed citizens than entire governments and police forces. Thank God for the Second Amendment. Yeah. The people that don't like us, the United States, and the people of the United States are authoritarians. First, we can discuss other countries, if I may. The military of other countries fear the American citizen, the American civilian, because we are armed that heavily. We have 750 million weapons in a country that only has 350 million Americans. So children, the elderly, they don't really count as potential gun owners. Democrats don't like guns as a matter of record. So people like me and possibly like you have multiple weapons. And a lot of us are sportsmen because we're allowed to go hunt, so we're very good shots. Or we're gun enthusiasts and we just like to go to the range as a hobby. Or we're veterans and we've been trained to be extremely proficient with weapons. Or we're all of those things. So other militaries fear us, as well as our own military. Other governments are confused. Why doesn't the United States government want to take our guns from us so they can properly be authoritarian and tell us what to do? Well, those countries and those governments don't seem to understand the principles of the constitutional republic. right here. They also don't understand concepts that are embodied in common law, right? Meaning the existence of the people in common law jurisdictions doesn't rely on the permission or guidance or license of the government. In other words, our rights exist whether there's a fucking government or not. And the government in our country is forced to recognize our rights and respect them. Even though they don't respect them, their authority is stopped as a matter of recognition and respect for the rights. Now, the people of other countries are just confused, period, because they don't understand rights, nor are they allowed to have guns. So most of the planet is completely confused and baffled. They don't like it that we have guns. Well, some of them don't like it because they wish they had guns. They wish they had rights, and they wish they had a constitutional republic that was based on common law, like the United States of America. Right? So yeah, we own more guns than our own government and all of our police combined. That, my friends, is the foundation for liberty and safety for the people. And also, we protect the fucking government from other countries. The United States government would not be feared as much if there weren't patriots like me and you guys, American patriots like all of us, right? Veterans, patriots, sportsmen. We protect our own government. In fact, the Second Amendment says so. The right of the people, right, to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. It's the militia. The militia is us, the people. The people are the militia. We are also the government. The government is supposed to be established and set up for us, we the people. But the way the government sees things these days, no, we exist to serve them, right? Crazy business. Crazy business indeed. Thank you again, Big Dan. Appreciate it a bunch. Now, we just discussed a little bit of religious stuff, so let's continue with that. Person in the media, Jesse Kelly, warns that communist ideology is infiltrating and taking over American churches. I've seen plenty of this. I've seen plenty of rainbow churches, and I drove by a rainbow synagogue the other day that had the transgender flag outside of it. So this headline came, it's an interesting Gateway Pundit article that communist ideology is infiltrating and taking over American churches. Not all of them, just where they can get away with it. See, communists are godless. So what would they want to do with the church? So any church promoting LGB pedophilia, socialist communist, Muslim integration loving, or Judeo-Christian churches, that it's lies. It's all lies, and they're here to destroy America, destroy Christianity, destroy freedom. Why would they use the church? Well, back in the 1700s, churches where people went to get news, as well as the good news, the gospel. They went to churches for social interaction, for community organization, for community benefit. That's what church was about. Churches were used, folks, in the 1700s to organize Americans, teach them about liberty, their rights, and what God had in mind for them. So a lot of the anti-British, anti-king fervor came out of churches. Well, so what's going on? Well, we know what we have and who we are without churches now, but now the communists are sneaking into the churches to try and convince them that communism is what God wants. That God wants people to be totally submissive to government. And that your rights aren't rights, they're mere privileges. Right? They want to take that away. They want to tell you that you need to allow illegals across the border. Then you need to allow Islamists in the country and give them their own Sharia law. That, well, the Christians aren't really Christians. You're now Judeo-Christians. You're less than the Jews. You're less than the Israelis. In fact, you're second-class citizens in your own country. In fact, you need to allow homosexuals and pedophiles into your church. Saw a video over the weekend of a Texas church that kicked out a parishioner, someone from that church, for wearing a shirt that said, Jesus loves you. He wore a shirt that says, Jesus loves you, into a church. And they kicked him out because it was a LGBT pedophilia program at the church. You see, you have no morals, you have no foundation, you have no understanding. They've now destroyed that church and they use it for their own purposes. That's kind of a cuckoo bird type scenario where Jesus has been thrown out of the church, and now we have pro-Islam, pro-Israel, pro-homosexual. That sound like a church to you? Wild business, folks. Wild business. And the churches, well, look out. It's a hell of a system set up, is it not? You have people come in the building, you tell them what to believe, and then you tell them, give me your money. And they do. I tell you guys, hey, if you want to talk or chat, super chat donation up there, and you buy a spot right here on right. You support the channel, you promote everything, you do great that way, and then you get to ask questions, right? Church, they tell you to sit down, shut up, put your money in the plate. What is it, 5%, 10%, 20%? I don't fucking know. But you do that, and they tell you what to think. You don't get a say in church. In fact, if you say anything you're not supposed to, they'll kick you out of the church and tell you that you're going to burn in hell. I don't tell anyone they're going to burn in hell if they don't promote this channel. I just say, if you like your freedom, might be a good idea to share that internet address up top. In any event, it is the Prepared Mind channel. It is your show, and let's talk about what you want to talk about. Ooh, man, who's next on the Prepared Mind channel? It's Who's Your Life? And he says, maybe we need to go full anarchy to get back to the beginning and reset. I don't know, but I'm sick of the bullshit. Time to fuck around and find out. I think that's happening for us. Who's Your Life? Let's just examine godlessness, the completely amoral or immoral, right? Communism, socialism, fascism, corruption, all these things that are part of the system, the deep state, the swamp, if you want. The Washington, D.C., every state capital, every county, every city, they're all absolutely corrupt. Those things that are godless, ruleless, communist, Islam, drug dealers, they're all corrupt as fuck because they have no moral foundation. They end up destroying themselves. Of course, they'll try and take you and me with them and destroy the whole country. That's what they want. Right? That's their program. What they're hoping is to regain control of it, right? As the new regime. That's what they do. That's their program. Destroy everything and claim ownership of what's left. So there's your reset. Anarchy, chaos, civil war, social war, partisan war. That's what they want. That's what they need. Now, how are they getting around to doing it? How's it working? Let's take a look at some of the organizations they've turned loose on us in the past. BLM, burn, loot, and murder. They were joined by Antifa and did $4.5 billion worth of damage. It's a lot of damage. It's a lot of death and destruction. Antifa on its own terrorizes some cities. Namely, or most notably, Portland, then Seattle, Chicago, Los Angeles, San Francisco. They're in all the big cities, not just on the West Coast, but they have done very little. They terrorize people, they damage property, they kill people, yes, but they aren't a threat to the entire nation. The nation is way bigger than just Antifa. So the Democrats seeing that, the communists seeing that, they turn to opening the border up. They turn to inviting illegals in. Then they turn and they invite in all the Islamists. Oh, we need to bring these people in from Somalia, from the Middle East, from North Africa, from Central and South America. They're drug dealers. They would love for them to get out of hand, to cause anarchy and chaos. Well, they do their brand of anarchy and chaos. Let's start with just the drug dealers. The shit it's the fan, SHTF, Mad Max threat with the drug dealers is they work city by city. They start with neighborhood by neighborhood and expand until they control the city. They control the government at the city level. Then they move out and expand. Right now, they control Mexico. The president down there, Sheinbaum. That's right, President Sheinbaum. When she turns sideways, you will know her nationality. She is not an ethnic Mexican. Sheinbaum is owned and controlled by the cartels, believe it or not. As long as they get destruction and chaos and control of the country, Sheinbaum is happy. The cartels are happy. They wanted to bring that up here to this country, and they started doing it right away, did they not? In, Aurora, Colorado? They were taking over apartment complexes. They were starting to what? Control the politicians. And they have now been, they're being chased. They're being arrested. They're being deported. They need to be killed. Now, Antifa controls their local governments also. Their mayors, their city councils, their colleges. They control it, but they can't expand. They're not expansive that way. Now, you look at the Islamists. That's right. The Islamists are out there. And what are they doing? They're telling us exactly who they are. They tell us it's okay to lie to you, dumb white Christians, because we're going to lie to you until our population is big enough where we outnumber you and you're just a minority. And then it's Sharia law time. And then we'll come to your house. We'll kick in your door. We'll take all your valuables. We'll rape the women. We'll take the little girls as sex slaves. We'll own you. That's what they're promising. They're just not there yet. But look what they're doing in Europe. In England, you cannot criticize Islam. In England, you cannot criticize the government for protecting Islam. You cannot criticize the fact that your daughters are being raped, that your stores are being robbed, that your property is being destroyed. You can't criticize, complain. You cannot carry the Bible, much less speak a word out of it, for fear of upsetting some ridiculous, fucked up Arab Islamist. You'll be arrested. You cannot carry your own country's flag because it's offensive. They're now getting rid of dogs and pets because no, Allah, Aloha snack bar does not like it. Nor does he like music or your food or your culture. They're a decade ahead of us here in America, but don't worry, it's coming to America. They too buy the politicians. The politicians think they're going to continue to run the country, folks. They think they're going to continue to be elite and be rich. No. Nope. These people are fucked in the head and they're trying to destroy this country. Israel is here, folks, to control and destroy this country. But they're doing it through AIPAC. They're doing it through their private donations they make to individual political candidates in both the Republican and the Democrat Party. They buy them and they own them. They make them. They make them kiss their asses and swear allegiance to Israel for the money they've taken. And then, folks, it is being widely reported now that American politicians travel to other countries, namely Europe, where they hook up with some little hot piece of ass or some stud muffin. And Israel, specifically, along with the CIA, take pictures, take videos, and then when that politician comes back to America, they're taken off to the side and, hey, look at this. Look what we got on you now. You now are owned by us. We own you. You are our bitch. You will do whatever we tell you. And so they do, and they vote for things that Israel wants. Israel, folks, does this to other countries as well, not just the United States of America. They try and control everyone that they can, not with a gun, but with blackmail. Not with a gun, but through extortion and bribes. But if you go back on them, if you're too powerful, too big of a voice like Charlie Kirk, you just might be killed. If you're like John F. Kennedy and you say, we need to inspect your nuclear facility to make sure you're not making nuclear weapons. And then you end up dead. You can get a bullet through the neck or the head, in the chest, because any of these groups that I've described will do anything it takes to defeat and destroy America and indeed freedom around the world. They're successful. Australia, gun control. Canada, gun control. England, gun control. New Zealand, I've never met a New Zealander that likes guns, period. And they come from common law. They've just been controlled that long. And these other groups, folks, whether it's Islam or Israel, Russia, China, whether they're domestic terrorists like BLM or Antifa, they lie about everything. Because unless you're in court and someone can prove otherwise, you can lie all fucking day long and get away with it. Our politicians lie to us. They lie to each other. They lie to the media. There's no consequence. There's no damage to them. And speaking of damage control, Howard Stern claims he's not woke. Okay, I have watched and listened to very little of Howard Stern because I know exactly what he is, who he is. I know exactly who he loves and who he doesn't, what he believes. Right? He is a giant sack of shit. But he says this, quote, I don't even know what that means, end quote. Talking about woke. Well, is he lying because he is a socialist or communist? Is he lying because he is Jewish? Is he lying because he knows that what he has done is morally reprehensible and near criminal? Or is he saying, I don't even know what that means, woke, because all of the above, and lying is what he does, right? Don't tell me you don't know what woke is when he posed with several women and then said, one of these women isn't a woman, it's a man, right? That's a great joke. It's great entertainment if you're into that type of joking and entertainment. But that's woke shit. That was the funny side of woke, right? But yeah, then they threw it in our face and said, you have to accept it. You have to believe it. You have to repeat their lies. This is one of the things AIPAC does, is they make their people that they are now controlling, they make them swear allegiance, kiss their ass, and tell them how they're going to be good little puppets for Israel. They force you to repeat their lies. And what did one of the greatest propagandists of all time, Joseph Goebbels of the Nazi Party, say? You tell a lie and you keep telling it until the people believe it. Or what was the other one? And he may not have said that, but he's credited with it. I think Hitler is also credited with saying the same thing, right? Tell a lie and tell a big lie. The bigger the lie, the easier it is to get people to believe it. Yeah, interesting. Interesting, is it not? Hoosier says, yeah, all this stuff down here. Yeah, full anarchy. That's what they want. Thank you, Hoosier, very much. And now, Mr. Uman, we've got some super chat donations. The button's right up there. And we've got Walter Ross. $49.99 super chat donation. $50 or $49.99. Glenfiddich, 18-year Scotch, single malt. And this Squiddy, my man, is buying me a shot. And I got to tell you, Semper Fi, brother. Gotta love it, man. Semper Fi. Walter Ross. Oh, like mother's milk. Let me tell you something, folks. I've got Marine Corps blood in my family. My uncle did 2 tours in Nam. Okay, my grandfather on my mom's side served in the Navy, World War II. My grandfather on my paternal side was in the Navy in World War II, was shot down, swam with sharks a couple of days, and was rescued. You know, there's a lot of jokes in the Marine Corps. That all we are to the Navy personnel is a bunch of seagoing bellhops, right? That's one of the jokes. But the other joke is, the Marine Corps actually is a department of the Navy. Marine Corps is a department of the Navy. It's the men's department, right? There's so much inter-service jokes. It's great. But the Navy takes the Marines into the heat of battle. They take them to the shore, dump us off, right? And a bunch of amphibious jarheads go nuts, right? The Navy supports the Marine Corps from their ships with things like food, supplies, and also armament, right? The things like battleships used to just launch barrages from offshore over our heads and into the enemy. And then in more modern times, the Navy flies their jets. They also used to fly airplanes before jets, but ahead and into trouble, into the enemy, and give cover fire. Marine Corps also has its own Air Force. Marine Corps, right? We got it all. We do it all, but we rely on the Navy. It's incredible. We give each other a bunch of shit, but God bless all you guys, right? The Navy. Another group of the Navy that I really love are the fucking Seabees. There's so many parts of a military, folks. It's not just grunts out there with M16s. It's not just tankers. It's not just, anything. It's everyone, and everything has a mission. And across the entire spectrum of, national defense and war, if there's a hole, if there's a missing piece, the enemy will exploit it. If something is weak, the enemy will exploit it. I think the United States of America is pretty open about its military and its capabilities. So what we've had since that transgender-loving fruitcake Obama became president, is they've been trying to destroy our military by bringing in homosexuals, cross-dressers, transgenders, then giving transgenders surgeries, and then making the military weak, and then lowering the standards so that anyone can qualify to be in our military. Hopefully that is absolutely done. I know that Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, has given that speech. No more men in skirts and fishnet stockings in the military. Good. Anyways, Walter, Semper Fi, brother. I really appreciate that. It is, folks. This country was started by people who were fleeing oppression and tyranny in Europe. And they came to America, North America, what became eventually the United States of America. And they were religious. You started with the Pilgrims, right? But it was also others. It was Germans, Scotch, Irish, Dutch, as well as the English that came to North America. The French also, by the way. And once they got here, we began to be terrorized by kings. And so this rebellious nature, rebellious meaning we don't like authority, we don't like being killed, we don't like being taxed, we don't like being raped, we don't like being burned. Kind of like America today. We don't like those things coming from government. We don't like tyranny. And so we became rebellious and fighters. Farmers picked up muskets. Right? Commercial ships became military ships. They put cannon on them, and they engaged the British Navy, the most powerful navy in the world. And by the way, we got our asses kicked quite a bit. I think it was John Paul Jones, after getting sunk, said, "We have yet begun or have not begun to fight." Right? It's an incredible history being an American, to know that that's who I am and who you guys are. There is a fighting spirit that wants and loves freedom. And I hope you are a bigger part of that every day that you live. And that you stand for truth and justice and goodness and decency. Mr. Uman, who's next on the Prepared Mind channel? Thank you, brother. And it's Dan the Man Erickson back with a $5 super chat. That's for Quattro Erickson. He says, My Tesla stock I bought during the dip earlier this year, 100 shares at $236.82 each, has made good dollars on that. Thanks, Elon. Only in America. Okay, what's amazing here, our stock market. Our stock market. The companies that go there, some are shitty companies, and they go there to screw people over. Other companies are good companies, and when you go public and you put your company and a certain number of shares at a certain value on the market, people can decide if your company's worth owning or not. People can decide all kinds of things about your company. People have decided they like Elon Musk. They like Tesla. They like Tesla batteries, Tesla cars. They like his rocket ships. Whatever the fuck Tesla has, America likes that, and they like the attitude and everything else. I think the biggest threat to Tesla is Wall Street itself and government. And that's the same threat every company faces, is who on Wall Street is going to screw over the investors and who in government is going to punish and screw over the investors. Right now, Washington, D.C., all of the politicians, they're insider trading. They're getting filthy fucking rich. I think the average government politician is making 500 to 600% increase on their stock investments every year because they know what's happening, who's going to get the government contracts, it's called fascism, who's going to win, and so they invest and put their money there. Dan the man, I'm glad you did great with your Tesla. 100 shares at $236. That's $23,600. Woo! That's a lot of money. And I'm glad you won. I'm glad you're ahead. I'm not going to give any advice. I know jack shit about trading Tesla, but I tell you, I've met a lot of people who've been very happy with it. It's been a great company. It's very powerful. That's America. That's capitalism. Cronyism and fascism is what we need to be afraid of. It's funny how Congress will not take away their special insider trading fuck America privilege. They don't want to give that money up. In fact, lately, Dan and everyone, government workers, whether they're bureaucrats or elected politicians, have been stating and making the case that, well, they need that money. Well, yeah, we all fucking need money, but they think that they need it more than us and that they should be entitled to it. They should be allowed to get that money because their job is so hard. How many fucking weeks did Congress and Washington, D.C. take off so they didn't have to vote on the Epstein file release? And now the government shut down. And they're still going to get paid, folks. They're fucking bureaucratic politicians all over D.C. screaming, we will get our money back. You have to give us our money back. How dare you not pay us while the government shut down? Well, if I work for a company, that company has to pay me. But if the company says, hey, John, the company has to shut down for 6 weeks. You're going to take 6 weeks off. And I'm like, but they say, we'll hire you back in 6 weeks. We just have to take that time off and retool the factory. But until then, no. Do I expect to get paid for not working? No, but government employees do. Assholes. All right. Hey, Mr. Uman, we're 90 minutes into the show. We got half an hour left, and holy crap. Dan the Man Erickson with a Cinco de Jono. He's back with a 55.56. That's a $50 super chat and a 556 bonus. And the big bonus for me, my friends, and thank you, Dan, is another 18-year Glenfiddich Scotch whiskey. And these are good, but too many too fast can put the hurt on Mr. John. So let's be a little bit careful. Anyways, we're good. I'm good. I'm 275 pounds. I can hold my liquor pretty good. Some days, though, you guys have gotten me. Woo! So smooth, man. And you just smell it. Gotta love it. Big Dan, thank you, sir. He says, yep. Son, 10 years older than you And this is not the damn country I grew up in. Pretty sad how far we have fallen. I remember when we were not 37 trillion in debt. The big reset financially will happen. It has to. Well, we've gone past the point of no return, folks. We borrow nothing from the Federal Reserve Bank, which isn't federal. It has no reserves. It's not even a bank. It's an institution that electronically creates dollars that it transfers from their computer to the government computer to tell the computer at the government it has money to spend. Literally. That's how this works. They create money out of fresh air and then tell the government, there you go. And then the government has to pay back that electronic transfer with interest. With interest. And they spend more than they take in tax revenue from us. They spend more. We give them all that they screw us out of, and it's not enough, and then they spend even more. Every year, the government does this thing called baseline budgeting. They take whatever they bought or spent, their budget, and they add 10%. And the next year, they take that number, which already has 10%, and add another 10%. They do compounded interest in growth all across the government every year. It's to the point now, I don't get a 10% raise every year, minimum. A lot of these government bodies, they don't get 10%, they get 20 or 50 or 100% every year. They grow so fast, it is the debt bubble is inescapable, as Dan describes. It wasn't too long ago, I think 25 years ago, our government debt was less than $1 trillion. Less than $1 trillion. At that point, less than $1 trillion. What does that tell you? How can we, in less than 25 years, we've gotten 37 trillion more? That's over $1 trillion every year. How are they doing this? By stealing from us, spending where they want, and fucking us over. And we, folks, look, here's our budget for the government. Here's our budget to pay back the Federal Reserve Bank for doing nothing other than a couple of keyboard taps. So this is how much money we spend, but this much goes to the bank. They literally, at this point, with so much debt, we as a country can barely pay them the interest rate on fresh air, bullshit computer figures. Now, a long time ago, back in the 90s, Rush Limbaugh used to say, deficit spending, the debt, the national debt is no big deal. Ha ha ha. We can go indefinitely. No, we can't. Now we're to the point where it can't. It absolutely can't. We can't keep it up. It's done. The money is worthless. Right? Right now, gold is at, get this, gold is at $4,000 an ounce. And some pennies, some change, right? Back in 1971, gold was revalued to $42, I believe. It used to be $20 in 1929. And then in 1932, 33, FDR said, we're going to revalue gold after they bought it cheap from the public, said, you're not supposed to have that gold anymore. Give us the gold and we'll give you extra money. They raised it to, I think, from $20 up to $33. Nixon raised it above 40. I think $42 and 22.222222 cents. Well, now in, 54 years. In 54 years, that value of gold has gone from $42 to where it was again publicly traded. Now it's almost at 4,200. In other words, the dollar has lost 99% of its value, literally in my lifetime. $37 trillion. Just 25 years ago, they could have stopped spending money. They could have stopped spending money, paid off the debt, retired it all, fired the Federal Reserve, printed our own money for free, and we'd have been fine. That's not where we're at, though. Big Dan, protect yourself. Everyone, protect yourself. Protect your wealth, protect your property, protect your family, protect. You're going to love this one. Protect your sanity, right? A prepared mind is a sane mind, right? Chance favors the prepared mind. If you are not within your right mind, you could end up suffering like this guy. I'm going to name this guy. This is a man. His name is Tim McBride. This man pretends to be a woman and is a Democrat in Congress. Gotcha, Uman. Democrat in Congress claiming to be a woman and blaming Republicans for the government shutdown. The government is shut down because the Democrats refused to do a continuing resolution, which in my opinion was shit anyways, because it just continues that big overspending program that grows every year. No. On top of that, the Democrats want transgender surgery for everybody. They want free health care for illegals, non-Americans. If you go to another country, folks, go visit Tahiti, for example, you have to show evidence and proof that you have health insurance. They won't let you in because they don't want you using their hospitals and getting free health care. Anyways, Tim McBride is a man pretending to be a woman, has been elected to Congress because the woke constituents think that's fucking great. But he's blaming Republicans for the government shutdown because the Democrats are demanding we spend way too much fucking money on their weird-ass woke programs. This article should actually read, insane, mentally deranged freak blames Trump for protecting taxpayer funds from sick, perverted freaks who want to destroy the nation with foreign anti-Christians. That would be the better headline to describe the insanity that's going on. All right, Mr. Uman, I think we got some fun coming here. What do we have? And by the way, we're at 350 people live right now. By the time this video is done, thousands of people will have watched it. Please thumbs up the video. Not for my ego, not for my bank account, which it doesn't really help, but it shows YouTube and it spreads the word and helps this message grow and get out there. Thumbs up. It's not money. It's a message. Redneck Roughneck says, I see where a Republican has purchased the Dominion voting machines. I know this one. And is going to go through them, as in electronically. And now the Democrats, aka Demon Rats, are calling for paper ballots. Yeah. A Republican wants the voting machines. The Republican says, I'm going to fix them. And the Democrats who cheat every fucking election using the Dominion voting machines that the owner of Dominion lied about, Congress lied about, witnesses fucking lied about, and other witnesses went into court, literal courtrooms, with a Dominion voting machine and hacked it right there in front of the judge and showed them how they can be hacked and programmed to swap votes for Democrats to affect and cause the outcome that they want. Knowing that, the Democrats are fucking scared to death right now because they know those voting machines could be reprogrammed to vote Republican and to always guarantee a Republican victory, and that they could be hacked by Republicans or maybe not hacked at all, because once they're programmed for Republicans, the Democrats are losing their shit. They want paper ballots. Last year, you couldn't have told them paper ballots. Fuck, a month ago, they were no paper ballots. But now that those voting machines are Republican voting machines, I really don't believe the Republicans will cheat, folks. I don't. They're liars. They're fucking idiots. They're sellouts. They're traitors. They're treasonous. But they won't lie and get caught because they could go to jail, because the Democrats would throw them in fucking jail, period. Uman says, what next? Voter ID? Let's see. I need a form of identification just to go to the government and get a form of identification at the driver's, the DMV, the Department of Motor Vehicles. Unless you're a foreigner, and you can go in and you can get a driver's license that says no name given. You can even get real ID star in the corner of that with no ID, no address, no nothing if you're a foreigner. But if you're an American, you need forms of identification just to get a form of identification. And then you've got to use that form of identification to get a job, to turn on your electricity, to get a phone, to what? To travel, to get on a fucking airplane. Look at all the things you need ID to buy alcohol or cigarettes. I got carded again the other day. I go, look, I know I'm a handsome man, but I'm 55. You really think you need to fucking ID me to get some alcohol? But one of the most important things you do in your life is vote. No ID required. Hell, I know maybe we need to have Republicans get multiple ID cards so they can vote wherever they want. And then maybe the Democrats will crack down on voter ID fraud too. I don't know. Yeah, it's funny how in order to get a Democrat to say what you want, all you have to do is have the power and authority to do what they do. All of a sudden, they're against it. Wow. And speaking of ID, there is a conservative political action committee out there. They're keeping track. Oh, yes. They're keeping track of teachers and professors in colleges and schools who cheered at Charlie Kirk's murder. I don't think this political action committee should keep that list to themselves. That list should be public. And I think government funding needs to be cut to every college, university, school, unless those public employees are fired at every school, college, university for promoting and supporting violence and terrorism that we were told was wrong to do, but they're supporting it. But, hey, right? If we're not going to fire these people for being absolute scumbags, maybe I should be allowed to show how well I could promote and glamorize violence and revolution and terrorism. Because that's what the left does. They promote and glamorize violence, revolution, and terrorism. That's what Antifa does. That's what BLM does. That's what these Islamists do. That's what everyone on the left does. Anyways, Mr. Uman, we've got, let's see, just over 10 minutes left in the show. We got some super chats out there. Let's see them on the board here. Kabam, who's up next? It is Big Dan the man. He is back with 6. Count them. This is a record. 6 super chat donations in one show. He says, and it's a $10 super chat. He says, the carbon tax. These morons don't realize humans and plants and animals are carbon-based life. We're made out of carbon. They are not following the science. No, Dan, they're not. He says, without carbon, we would not be here right now. No, we wouldn't. The earth and the crust is just packed full of carbon. Carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, carbon. Every plant made out of carbon. All of us carbon. And what do they want to do? They want to tax carbon. How do you tax carbon? It's nothing about science. It's nothing about saving the planet. It's not about helping or hurting the trees and animals. It's about tax. Dan, you know it. I know it. We all fucking know it. It's about control and tax. While if you've got the money and an ID, right, Oliver, you got to have an identification card. You can get on a plane packed in like fucking cattle. I mean, I know I'm a big guy and stuff, and I know I take up all of my seat and maybe a little more. I try and sit on the aisle, so I hang in the aisle. They pack us in like sardines. And we all share a plane ride to wherever the fuck we're going. And we land, and it takes literally an hour to disembark the plane because there's so many fucking people packed into a giant flying Tylenol. And I say Tylenol because, death and deadliness, right? These people that are pushing the carbon tax fly around in private jets where anywhere from 10 people down to just one of these motherfuckers is a passenger. And yeah, they only burn 1/5 the amount of fuel that a commercial passenger plane burns. But yeah, the commercial passenger plane transports anywhere from 200 to 500 fucking people, where they're just like, well, there's one of me or two of us. And they want to tell us that we leave a carbon footprint. Unfucking believable. These jackasses. Literally unfucking believable. Tell me it's not a scam. They have one of their climate summits. Literally, folks, the fucking airport is jam-packed full of private fucking jets. Private jets. Dozens of them stacked in there. And then when they go to leave, they're running their little jet engines, but they're just sitting on the tarmac because, well, people like John F. Kerry or Al Gore, they need air conditioning while they're sitting on the runway waiting for all the other jets to get out of the way so they can all leave. Massive carbon footprint from these motherfuckers. But us? No. Anyways, Dan, yeah. It's not about science. It's about taxes. It's not about reality. It's about control. Woo! One of my favorite subjects. I love carbon tax. It's a fucking hoax. By the way, it's anti-Semitic to say that climate change is a hoax. Did you know that? Well, it may as well be. And here we go. Uman says it's not John Kerry's jet. It's his wife. It's his wife's jet. Well, yes, John Kerry is a bitch. And his wife, I think her name is Teresa Heinz Kerry. She is the ketchup queen. Every time you use Heinz ketchup, which is, by the way, full of carbon, when you buy that ketchup, you support John F. Kerry flying around the world, leaving a big, fat, ketchup-stained carbon footprint. Damn it. I just happen to like Heinz ketchup. It was just tough. It's like Coca-Cola. I can't buy Coca-Cola. I can't buy Heinz. Wow. Okay, thank you, Mr. Uman. What do we got? Holy cow, we're into the 10-minute warning, and Blue Cord Devil checking in with a $50 super chat donation. Holy cow. I'm starting to feel it, folks. This is, in the last 2 hours, the 6th scotch I've had. This is getting a little tipsified here. It's catching up to me. 18-year Glenfiddich. I love how they put a description on here as if I didn't know what it was, so I read it, and then I'm like, I'm going to have to buy that. After 18 years, oh, shit, I can't read. You know what that means? It means either I'm old or snockered or both. There we go. After 18 years, in a Oloroso sherry and bourbon casks, our aged malts are married into small batches for a rich and elegant complexity. That's some fancy stuff, I got to tell you. And I want to thank all of you for supporting the channel and making sure I get to do quality control for Glenfiddich and Glenlivet. Oh, mama. Woohoo! Blue Cord Devil, thank you, sir. And he writes, peace and prayers, John, Jolene, Uman, and everyone else on the channel. Watch your six. Stay calm. Stay armed. Here is to your health. I've got alcohol is both a muscle relaxant. It is an antidepressant. It is a stimulant. It is a painkiller. It is a floor polish. It is an antiseptic. And it does a lot of things. Alcohol, good. Pharmaceutical companies, bad. This will not cause my heart to have clots. Scotch actually thins the blood. Kind of like aspirin in that way. It thins the blood, helps my blood flow better. How about that shit? Alcohol is a stress reliever, which is good for the heart. Heart doesn't like stress. Stress bad. Alcohol good. Now, if you're a child, you're not supposed to have alcohol until you're 21. But we all know how that works. Because I was a kid and I had kids. As far as staying armed and staying calm, also be very aware. Last week, I was up early, zero dark. I was traveling across the state of Florida, pulled into a Wawa gas station. It's a big franchise, Wawa. And I go to fill up my truck, and out of the woods, the bushes, comes a guy, and he stops about 10 feet in front of my truck because I turned and squared up and says, "What's up?" The guy looked at me and goes, "Hey, man, do you have a pair of jumper cables? I need a jump." And I looked over, and he was parked in a parking lot with no lighting on the other side of a bunch of hedges that I could barely see through. And I thought, you know what? If I go over there and I get jumper cables out and I pop the hood and I turn my back and hook up on the positive and negative posts, I'm going to get hit in the back of the head with a fucking club and have my truck stolen. I cannot trust people in today's environment because of the games, the absolute lying that criminals will do. They're kidnapping girls, they're kidnapping women, they're attacking people, they're assaulting people. They lie and cheat through computer programs, through our phones, through emails, through phone calls. Got to be careful. Watch your six. Stay calm. Stay armed. I just told the guy, nope, go ahead and move along. And he did. Because I had a 45 right there with me as well. You know, you want to help people, but not at dark. Not in the middle of the fucking night. Not in a strange place. And certainly don't leave a well-lit, well-traveled area to help someone out just because it could have been a woman. She would have got the same answer. Oh, I'm going to go over there to help you so your boyfriend or your pimp can come out of the bushes and fucking club me like a harp seal. Telling you, folks, you've got to be aware. They will use whatever trick they can. All right. Thank you, Blue Court Devil. Feeling it. Ooh, man, who's up next on the Prepared Mind channel? We've got the Unprepared Mind, who I saw in the comment section before the show even started. He's been here the whole time. He says, I don't get why Trump is backing strikes into Russia and why he publicly has not pulled funding of arms to Ukraine. I don't, as an America first, America patriot, I do not see the reason. Russia supplies Europe with energy. Russia supplies the United States of America with energy that we need. Without Russia, we're all fucked. Literally, why are we attacking Russia? Unless our government and even President Trump, yes, even the president, is controlled by someone whose interests are not America first. You can figure out who that country is. There is a country that supports Ukraine that has a lot of its people having come from Ukraine who hate Russia. There are certain business interests that want to get into Russia, but Vladimir Putin has said, no, you will not come in this country. You will not do business here. So they hate Russia. They hate Russia badly because Russia threw all of their people out and they went back in. It's not going to happen. Sorry, bankers. Putin doesn't like you. Putin also does not like Satanism. He is now confiscating their property. Anyone involved in the Church of Satan or Satanism, period. He is kicking out the LGBTQ people and the pedophiles. They're not allowed to be there. And by the way, Putin does speak very frankly, very openly, very honestly about these influences in the United States of America. And although he likes President Trump, he sees what America is being controlled by. And Putin is helping and trying to wake the world up. Do I want to have Putin over for dinner at my house? No. Right? Do I want to be a Russian? Fuck no. But I understand his perspective. As an occupied country, and I think America is occupied by a lot of interests that are not America first or America at all. And I understand why Putin wouldn't want that, because I would like to have the country back that I was born in, a free United States of America, where everyone respected the police and the police respected everyone, where politicians, though they lied somewhat, they also told a lot of truth and at least cared about their fucking country. And here we are today, a whole different world. Folks, chance favors the prepared mind. Uh-oh, hey, Shelly Chavers checked in last minute, just like that, with a $20 super chat donation. Whoa, Shelly, thank you. It's great seeing you again. She's been a longtime supporter. She says, agree with Dan about the relationship of carbon-based plants and animals. This is 6th grade science. Even cow farts contribute to plant growth in spite of what artificial intelligence says. Cows actually reduce the carbon footprint. A lot of people don't realize that. Cows reduce carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide. You take a field full of grass and it falls over and it rots, and all those literal plant hydrocarbons start breaking off, little chunks as the plant dies, disintegrates. They're weak chains, meaning they interact with oxygen and they break off. Petroleum, folks, by the way, is a hydrocarbon. Oil is a hydrocarbon. And it's a pretty robust chain. But it can be ignited with fire and it burns and emits its carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, right? Carbon. Plants eat carbon, by the way, and turn it back into organic material. Cows, they eat it, and they turn a lot of that carbon into cow meat. So that field that, if it's mowed down by cows, at the end of the season, when all that grass dies, emits less carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, period. Because the cows have consumed it. And yes, they fart some carbon out, methane gas, to be specific. But they also convert a lot of that carbon into meat, which our body takes. They call it protein. It's got carbon in it. And our body absorbs that carbon, and it builds us into muscles. As beings, we need carbon. What a world. I'm telling you, what a world. And thank you, Shelly, for the great super chat donation. I really appreciate that. And I need it. I need it, folks. We all need all the support we can get as people who matter. Americans, non-Americans. If you love freedom and you're a decent human being, then I support you, and I'm glad that you're supporting us. Chance favors the prepared mind. And that's food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, and means of self-defense with your plan. That is the prepared mind. You guys, you're all right there. You're all right in my book. I love you all. I'll see you. No zero dark tomorrow. It is Columbus Day. And I'm going to celebrate by having a big coffee and a carbon-injected muffin. There you go. But I will be back tomorrow evening for the standard Monday through Friday shows. I'll see you there. Thank you, everyone, one and all. Semper Fi means always faithful. God bless America and all that love freedom.